Welcome everyone, this is Al Deckman Barry, and first off I want to say I tried uploading but I simply didn't have the time because I'm finally in the new place. That doesn't mean I have more time now because there's a million and one things that need to be done, from repairs to simply unpacking and things like that. Now the topic of this video is going to be a good news, bad news kind of video, and I'm coming off already 2 days of the bad news part, so you'll get to see that and share in my frustration. So let's get to the good news. The good news is I moved, and not just moved, but I bought a house. And anybody that lives in the US knows buying a house, especially your first house, is very difficult, but I got very lucky, and maybe one of these days I'll do a video on that. But let's just say it reaffirms some of my old faiths, because it's against all odds. And that's part of the reason why I'm showing this old video with my old place, because at least in the US it's still possible to go from that to this. I'm not showing this to brag or anything like that, but this was a huge step, and obviously a step in the right direction. And it took a lot of hard work and, like I said, a little bit of luck. And honestly, I'm trying to show some of the positives because my mood is incredibly foul because of the bad news part. That, and obviously politics, that every time I see something it's like the world is gone mad, or just a group of people want to destroy the world and everything good about it. So obviously, as you can see, there's still lots of boxes, lots of car parts, and I gotta put them in their proper place so it looks more civilized. But it's gonna take a lot of time, a lot of work, but it's gotta happen, right? Now this ain't a house channel, it's a channel about buses and cars, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about that Ranchero, and you can see me putzing around with them, moving them and shifting them and whatnot. The sound you heard there was my Crown Vic, the one I had the accident with. Unfortunately, I can't fix it until the legal issues are solved. That's the 73 Continental. Bit of a cold, long start, but it's still a great running car. Needs a lot of work too, like pretty much everything I have right now. But it was modified from the previous owner with dual exhaust, 3.5-inch pipes, so it's loud. Might notice the Crown Vic is sitting kind of funny, but that's because it has air ride suspension in the back, and the compressor is busted, so it's not lifting itself up anymore. But at some point this car will get fixed if it's the last thing I ever do. Like all Ford products, they got exhaust manifold leaks. That's my 72 Continental. It's Still original down to paint, vinyl top, interior, even the clamps, the tower clamps versus the current spiral ones. So it's still a great running car. Now the sound you heard earlier with the Crown Vic starting, I think those are just the serpentine flanges, the pulleys and whatnot. Because it's sad they got corroded and all that. But the engine still runs strong. It's still got plenty of pull and does some pretty cool burnouts even as is. Now you might wonder, why do I have two cars that are nearly identical, 72 and 3? So I bought the 73 for parts for $500. Nothing functioned on it. Didn't turn over, nothing electrical, not even the lights. But I started working on it little by little, did the brakes, did pretty much everything myself. And found out I had 46,000 original miles, and I just didn't have the heart to gut it up into parts. So now I got two of them. So now this is the bad part. This is about the bus, Olivia. She has been having a lot of problems. And I'm at the point right now where I'm not sure what the future of this thing is. It may, the irony, not irony, it's just what really frustrates me is that it traveled thousands of miles to get here, only to end up less than a mile away from my house. Because if it was at my house, I'd be able to work on it. At least there'd be some hope. But where it is right now, and with everything that's going on, there's just very little I can do. Now, you may wonder, why don't I just take it to a shop? I tried, but it's funny because we're living in very strange times, and between state regulations and EPA guidelines, it's impossible to have a diesel shop. And it's even more impossible to have a diesel shop that works on older vehicles. Doesn't matter if it's for private use or if it's a classic. No, doesn't matter. So I'm having trouble finding somebody to work on it that can do the things that I just can't do. I don't have a lift to lift this beast. So the first problem, after I drove it the last time, there's a video of that. The moment I parked it, the fuel tank collapsed. As in, one of the straps holding it up was so brittle, it was like, the paint that comes off your wall, it's that brittle. So I put some wood chunks under it, and I was attempting to strap it up. And, drive it to the shop, and, for a short distance, it should be okay on small little roads. God, man. If it wasn't for the rust, I think that's the only thing holding it together. Ah, freaking A. You see, so the problem is I got bad sheet metal, bad metal, everything. Just the quality of Romanian steel. It's not exactly well known in the world for that. And just bad treatment. The amount of dirt and mud. This thing probably was never washed. And especially, this is a side that it's always running in puddles when it's picking up passengers. This is what the results. And to think that this thing was in revenue service less than a year ago, that's a little scary. So now I got to figure out a way to deal with this tank. Find a replacement, figure out a way to weld it, because the bolts that hold the straps, they're gone. It's all welded. Now in the end, I did manage to hook one strap instead of two. It's just one, but it's better than nothing. But of course, that can't be the only problem. The starter, or no battery power at all. So my plan was run the engine to burn the fuel out rather than siphoning it and whatnot. But that didn't work. Now, in hindsight, I think when the fuel tank dropped, it cut a lot of the power lines that go up to the driver's position. So maybe that. But I'll tell you a story now that will horrify you. What's the voltage on them?
4.
4? So what, the batteries are dead?
4.23 volt, charge at 0.
Jesus. Okay. Well, if it's just batteries, that should be easier, right?
Only with that jump start.
Yeah. I don't like these batteries. They're not the best. The sound you just heard was the starter. Now, because it's YouTube, rewind a little bit and listen to it again. I'll wait here. So you might wonder, what's the deal? You know, you want the starter to be able to engage. Well, that's the thing. The moment you apply power to the batteries to charge them, the starter just started spinning freely. Well, not freely, it's spinning the crown gear, but you get the idea. So my first thought was, okay, ignition switch. I tried taking the ignition out, and turns out that's not it, because I pulled the plug, you know, from the button. It's still spinning over. My hunch is the gas tank came out when it went down. It ripped some of the wiring, and now the switch that goes to, well, from the starter switch on the dash to the starter relay, I think that got cut, and now it's grounding out with the body, and that's probably what's going on. Now the horrifying part. So I wanted to get the vehicle towed to get it to my place, with a minor detour to get it weighed along the way. Well, obviously, with the gas tank, with the fuel tank the way it is, you can't tow it with a normal truck. So I got to get a flatbed. With a flatbed, I need a bus to function so I can run it up on the trailer. So they sent this roadside mechanic, supposedly this big expert and whatnot. Well, it turns out that he first tried to charge the batteries. Now, bear in mind, you saw there are 2 batteries. He tried putting the leads on both the positives. Now, tell me if that's going to do anything. Now, I know what he's trying to do, or at least I assume. He probably just wanted to charge one battery at a time. But the way he was looking at it, like scratching his head, like, I don't get it, kind of worried me. So I call, you see me here, I'm talking, I'm yelling at their dispatcher. In the meantime, what does he proceed to do? He goes into the main cutoff switch compartment and starts cutting everything. An hour into it, he gets a call from his dispatcher that he has to go on another call. So now he left me with all of my electrical wires cut. And I have no idea, you know, I mean, I didn't have a chance to really dig into this thing. So I have a disaster on my hands. Fuel tank, now this electrical nightmare. Forget about what the fuel tank may have done, because at least that's localized. But now I got to deal with this. And to top it all off, they sent me a bill. Yeah, I'm going to send them a bill because this is unacceptable. I'm considering this a form of vandalism. You come in and start cutting people's wires, what, for fun? For, you know, this is absolutely unprofessional. And I'm not going to give their name out because I'm going to give them a chance to make this right. But if they don't, well, I will consider it my civic duty to inform other motorists, truck drivers, bus drivers, you know, private owners, all that, to avoid this company. So that's me yelling that I wasn't getting any voltage. But just to wrap this up, right now I don't know what's going to be the situation. There's a part of me that is so beyond frustrated that I just want to abandon it completely. And not just the bus, but all bus related things. That's it. I'm done. you know, I still have a company that I'm running that I haven't mentioned or gone into in detail, and maybe that's something I need to dedicate my entire limited amount of energy that I have. But on the other hand, I did dump 30 grand into getting this thing over here, and it'd be a little ridiculous to abandon it 0.9 miles away from home. So we'll see. Honestly, I actually made the decision right now that I will not abandon it. And you may laugh at the reason what pushed me over that edge. About a week ago, I got this big envelope from Haggerty Insurance. And they deal with the classics and all that. And they also insure Olivia. So I talked to one of their reps, and it was a long conversation. The whole story of the bus, how my grandfather was one of the engineers that did the electrical system, ironically, right? And she was really fascinated, and she sent me something. And at first I thought, okay, it's a calendar, whatnot. Turns out, no, it wasn't a calendar. She sent me this handwritten card, which in this day and age, that's something, right? Taking time out to write something. That how she shared the video with the entire office, and they all loved it, and so. And they sent me this little flag, this little Romanian flag, which when I do get this thing back up, I will display it up there, and it'll be a nice little story to tell of, you know, human contact and personal, you know, relationships that people can form in this day and age of everything being about big data and, you know, all the stuff that's going on. So I will do everything I can. Excuse my clock messaging. I'm still in a temporary setup, so that's why you can't see me, and the webcam is God knows where. But anyways, so yeah, there's a lot of people seem to enjoy this, and I will try to not just abandon it. That's why I'm making just a little video right now. It might be a little long, but we'll figure something out. Just as long as I can get it home and start working at it little by little. It may not be on the road this year, but, and this is not staged, not whatever, but literally the moment I'm recording this, this is the moment I made up my mind that I'm not going to junk it. But I feel like that, so, alright, I'm just going to call it a day, and once I'm done with some of the house stuff, moving stuff, let it get warmer, because it's still cold out there. That's when I'm going to tackle it again, and just, again, bear in mind, we're not going to do the weekly schedule of videos until everything is up and running. So, this is, I don't know if this was entertaining or informative or whatnot. Just letting you guys know what's been going on. So this is Al Dackman Barry, and I'm wishing you had a better ride than I did. Although, in all fairness, I did end up getting a house, and I am very fortunate that things played out the way they did. So, hopefully you have the same kind of fortune and ability to motivate yourself and put the work that needs to be put in to get your whatever you want out of life. So, until next time.